And if you could just introduce yourself.
I play keyboards in Alice.
My name is Anna Maria, and I am the founder and vocalist in the band Vajra.
What was the initial start?
So we all have pretty storied histories.
I was just bored during COVID. Did a little demo, put it out, and it was pretty well received by the community. And
always had a thing for horror punk and stuff.
Something that started with me and a laptop during quarantine, and just like, oh yeah, all those times I said, if only I didn't have to work my job all the time, and now like I could have time to do that. Well, now this is that.
All right, and if you could just introduce yourself.
All right, my name is Sean. I am the singer, songwriter, guitar player for the Panic Broadcast.
Thank you very much. And before we get too much more into talking about your music, I was just curious, could you tell us a little bit about the history of your project, how it started, how you got into this, the whole thing up to this point?
Yeah, it's kind of normal, but in 1999, I was introduced to the Misfits. It was the Graves era Misfits, because it was in the 90s. And I got that CD from my best friend at the time. He had a Misfits CD. American Psycho was sitting on his counter. I was like, it was open, and it had Doyle, that the inside on the CD.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it had him, and I was like, dude, who the heck? He looks gnarly. So he let me borrow and pull it from him. It never came out of my CD player. And then after that, I started playing guitar. I was 14, I believe, in 1999. I started playing guitar, and I started writing, I guess, that type of music back then already in 99. And it just kind of snowballed from there. I started writing about like zombie movies and stuff like that. Just back then, though, like in 2001, 2, 3. And then I project on 20 years until just recently, man. Because I was in a reggae band that was like Sublime music, and we did a lot of cool stuff with that band, and we played with a lot of cool people and did some fun stuff. But after that kind of settled down, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do that project that I've always wanted to do, and it was this music. And so I've written some of these songs 20 years ago that you're hearing. Yeah, that's all for in sci-fi and stuff like that.
So speaking of the project, the Panic Broadcast, I've heard two songs by you. I've heard Dress Like the Dead, and I've heard, I believe the other song was called In Trails of the Dead. Is that correct?
Yep, those are the two.
And I was reading a little bit of the backstory you put on it. Is In Trails of the Dead inspired by the Orson Welles broadcast of War of the Worlds? That's so cool.
Yeah, so you nailed it, man. It's like the perspective of being like a dad, like an everyday dad that like got home from work and turned on the radio and was like, oh shit, dude, the world's ending, because what happened back then. So like I wanted to do the perspective of just a normal dude that like the families that heard it, you know what I mean? Like you're in that mindset, not the mindset of like telling the story of what happened, kind of the mindset of like the dude that turned on the radio and was like, oh shit, we're being attacked by aliens type thing.
That's so cool. That's so cool. So are you a big fan of Orson Welles?
I am. Well, yeah, I am. I actually you can actually go on, I can't remember the website, but you can listen to a lot of their broadcasts. It's pretty rad. You can listen to a lot of movies on there.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
But it's on the internet. If you search it, you'll find it. You can listen to a bunch of original broadcasts. Pretty cool.
Okay. Speaking of music, though, I believe a little while ago when we were talking, you had mentioned something about how you've got a third song coming up or coming out. Is that still true, or did I misunderstand what you were saying there?
I do have a song that's going to be coming out soon. That's just timing. Timing is everything. I'm doing it on my own. So like I'm playing guitar, vocals, and doing piano and keyboard and stuff like that. And then I send it out to some buddies that live in a different state, and then they do the rest, drums and all that. So it's kind of a long process. And right now it's kind of, time is valuable right now. I'm very busy, but yeah, there is more stuff coming out. I'm actually, because I could do it here in my own little studio, I've been working on a full acoustic album. So I bet you the acoustic thing will come out first. It's going to be all my songs I have right now acoustically. It's really good. It's coming out really, really well. People will love it. I play a lot of acoustic shows with that music and people love it. So I'm going to have something to sell at the shows that they ask me. So I'm going to do it.
Absolutely. That's cool.
But I do
So
out, and it is about Frankenstein. It's called I Monster. It's about being in the mind of Frankenstein.
oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I really love
Monster, I should say.
yeah, I really loved reading Mary Shelley's Frankenstein as a kid, and like I always found myself kind of relating to Adam, so it'll be kind of cool to like see how you know play with that perspective.
Oh, you'll like it, dude. It's very different the way it's because it's kind of like a tragedy. It's kind of like tragic. So like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
you'll like it. You'll love it. You'll love it. It's
So
short. It's short, but it's good.
so when you go to like write these songs, like uh instrumentally, lyrically, like how do you go about doing that? Like where do you start? What's the origin of the process and how do you work through it?
It's been the same since day one. I grab my acoustic guitar and I sit down and I just start riffing. And once I like a riff, I'm all about melody. If you haven't noticed, everything that I write has to have some kind of catch to it because I'm huge into like the 50s music, like majorly into the 1950s and 60s, I mean, everything pretty much, but very 50s, like esque stuff. So I'm very melodic. So I'll write a nice catchy melody, and then I'll just kind of make up lyrics, and then after that, I'll just pick a subject. Honestly, it takes minutes for me to do it. It takes minutes. Subject, I'll start singing about it. I'll write that down, and then that's pretty much how it goes. And then when I go on the computer and start recording, I'll think of bass lines, piano parts, drums, whatever.
For sure, for sure. And as far as like the lyric writing process goes, when you're doing that, have you ever have you ever like when you're writing a song or anything like that, either before or after, maybe because I know for me when I write music, I'm a musician as well, amateur of course, but um when I write lyrics, like I try to like have an idea of what is like what the story is about or whatever else. Do you ever find yourself either before or after like finding meaning in the lyrics that maybe you either didn't intend or was intended beforehand?
Almost every time, dude. It's funny that you say that. Yeah, that happens. You go in with a certain intention, and then when it's done, you like go, oh shit, man, that hits a little differently now that I'm hearing it all done. And that one little line was like, oh shit, that can mean a lot of things, and then you start thinking of, yeah, like you said, then you start thinking of other stuff, and yeah, it does happen. Yeah.
So, of the songs that you have that you've been working on for this project, which song do you feel has the lyrics that you feel like the strongest attachment to? And like, what do you think that I know like art is subjective and like people want to have their own interpretations, but for you, what's the meaning behind your favorite song on this project?
um my favorite right now, it's funny because like Dressed Like the Dead is like one of my favorite songs. It's a love story about my wife. It's me and my wife are like super into like Halloween, and we met because of that kind of stuff, and we're into horror and stuff like that. So I wanted to write like a love song that wasn't like normal. So it was about, like, it's just about like, I will, even when we're dead, I'm gonna be in my coffin, thinking about you, and you're gonna be right next to me, stuff like that. And I think that's my most meaningful. Well, I mean, there's other ones too, but that's my favorite one, I would have to say.
Okay.
It's just, but that there is one that you don't know about yet. It's about being a monster kid when you're in high school, and you're not the most popular when you're like, I'm from a small town, and like there's no other monster kids here. I had two friends that were into the same thing as me, and we were different than everybody else. And
Yeah.
yeah, I have a song that's about that, and I think that one's really meaningful. And I think a lot of kids and people in general will like it. It's very cool. So just about hanging out in your room with all your movies and monsters and all that stuff, and it's good. That's got a
That's
lot of
awesome.
meaning.
That's awesome. So speaking of, growing up in a small town and music and all of that, I grew up in a small town too, and I can definitely relate to that. Like you have your interest, you have your friend group, and like I know some of the closest friends I have, some of my tightest friendships are from that and bonding over music and just hanging out and doing what we were doing. Um, and that got me thinking a lot about like what makes good music in whatever genre, it is that we're listening to. So for you specifically, what do you feel makes the best music in like I in horror punk or in that general kind of like milieu of like music?
Okay, in that sense, and so I'm all about the melody mostly, first and foremost. Like I do love lyrics too. So like if a song has good lyrics, there's a lot of I'm not cutting people down because I love all music and I think all musicians are awesome. We're all doing the same thing. We're all the same, right? There's
Yeah,
no
yeah.
better person. Not like, oh, you're better than me. You're better. No one's better than anybody. We're out doing the same thing. It's cool. We should all support each other. But there is a lot of cookie cutter bands out there that just I feel like they try too hard to put themselves in like this little niche. That's what those are the kind of bands that I don't really. I don't. To be honest, I don't really listen to a whole lot of horror punk. I mean, I'm going to be
Okay.
honest with you. Yeah, I mean the most I listen to is I don't the Misfits. I mean, I like some Calabrese music. Those guys are pretty rad because they're doing something different with the
Hmm.
horror stuff. It's not just like cookie cutter stuff. I like Argyle Goolsby. I think he's freaking rad. I've seen him a few times live. Met him a few times. Cool dude. There's guys I like the Rosedales because they're different too. You know them?
Yeah, yeah.
I like them. I was talking with one of the guys on the label, Pretty with the Lights Out. He's really cool dude, and he's got like a different style too, which I like. Kind of has the '90s thing too, kind of like me. I feel like my music's kind of '90s esque. It has like a alternative. I don't feel like
Mhm.
it's punk. I feel like it's more alternative, in my opinion. But I think that just kind of trying to not be in the box of that horror punk the most. Like when I hear a song that's horror but it's not horror punk, it doesn't matter. It could be hip hop, it could be pop, it could be, I mean, Taylor Swift did a new song and there's a line that she's talking about where it has something to do with Frankenstein. There's like a line that she says and I thought that was hella cool. Like I don't care what the music is, I don't care who the person is. If you're talking about cool stuff, I'm gonna listen. I don't care what it is, but and if you're a cool person as well, you know. But it's just the cookie cutter thing is what I kind of don't really care for. But everything else, I mean, music is music, dude. It could be any genre, and I will listen to it if it's good. It does not matter.
For sure, for sure. You just mentioned that you kind of think of yourself as like alternative, and I actually get that. I hear, like you've said, a lot of influences from like 50s music. And at the end of Dress Like the Dead, I could have sworn I heard that, and maybe I'm wrong, but did you like the Pixies when you were growing up? Because I
I,
could have,
I did.
yeah,
You can hear it. All right.
yeah, yeah, it was so good. I was like, oh, this is beautiful. I loved that transition and how you got into that ending there. The melody, like you were saying, well, you're super into melody. That was beautiful the way you did it, and that was a perfect ending. That was one of the things that like I was hooked at the beginning, and when I got to the end, I was like, this song is good from start to end. Like the whole thing was well written, very well, melodically constructed. And anyways, I just noticed that influence, so I had to ask because I was like, when people pull in from other places, you're never quite sure. And so, anyways, I just thought it was cool.
You nailed it. Yeah, I'm very '90s man. I grew up in the '90s, so I'm a Smashing Pumpkins like maniac.
I respect that. Like what you like, listen to what you listen to, let it influence you how it's going to, and make the music you're gonna make, you know. I really respect that. Um, on that same kind of note of like musicians, you know, doing their own thing, you had mentioned previously some other bands. Are there any bands that you've gotten a chance to play with or that are in like the general scene and stuff that you're a part of right now, whether they're horror punk or not, that you think deserve like a special like shout out or attention that people should check out?
I honestly, I've been out of the music scene for quite a while. I just put these songs out like what 2 years ago, and that's the beginning of me coming back. I
Mhm.
haven't even got to play a show with another band, anything like mine. It's all been like just like really like metal, kind of like really heavy stuff. That I mean, I'm not into that kind of music that much. I like Pantera. I love Metallica. Metallica, by the way, and Pantera are two major influences to me as well. I like certain heavy stuff, you know, like there's bands that I like that are heavy. They're mostly like groovy heavy though. It's not like just death metal or whatever. But I play with I we only did one show as a band so far, and it was with a bunch of metal bands, and I mean I don't even remember the names of the bands or anything. So I wish I could say which bands to, like I said, Pretty with the Lights Out from our label, they're awesome. I like them a lot. I like that guy. He's a cool dude. We've had a conversation. He's like the same age as me, where we have a lot of the same kind of views on stuff. But yeah, I would say check them out. Check out Argyle Goolsby, check out the Rosedales, check out Calabrese, check out there's I mean just stuff like that, I guess.
Well, it looks like we're coming to a close here. You want to give your project a shout out, tell people where they can reach you if they want to make contact, if they want to buy any of your music or listen to it.
Yeah, my band is called The Panic Broadcast. You can go on, I believe, every platform, iTunes, Spotify. It's even, I think they even throw like a cheesy YouTube video up there too of just like the picture with like the song. Um, go on SoundCloud, and I have all the songs that are gonna be on this record that will come out eventually are on there. They're just acoustic. I got a song about Dracula, I got a song about Frankenstein, I got a song about different aliens attacking. Like there's just a bunch of cool songs on there. All very much like the ones that you've heard. They're all in that realm. So yeah, that's what I would have to say.
All right. Thank you guys so much for staying to the end of the episode. I really appreciate it. My name is William Hamilton, and I've been the host of this episode of Heartfelt Horror. Heartfelt Horror is a podcast and YouTube show that I've recently started so that I could do something different with my free time. I am an amateur musician and I wanted to try something different, so I thought I would look into becoming an amateur music journalist as well. I wanted to do this for two reasons. One, I wanted to learn from great bands, no matter how big or small they are. And you'll see lots of bands on here from a wide range of sizes and, notoriety and popularity. I wanted to learn from these bands how they write songs and what I could take in myself as a musician and share that with all of you. The other thing I wanted to do with this show was I wanted to help promote these bands. Again, it doesn't matter how big or how small a band is. If I like them, I'm going to have them on the show so that I can bring them to you and I can help promote them. And I hope that you'll stay and watch this. If you like what we do, if you like, what you've seen or heard, and you want to support us and you want to help us grow, I would really appreciate if you would go to our Patreon. The link is going to be down below.